Welcome to a Halloween edition of Comic Book Nation.
Oh my god, that's the mask you chose?
That is the mask I chose.
For those listening,
you should have told me. I would have been ready with some Loki horns.
Is wearing a mask where you can't see his face, but it's kind of like it's hooded. Gotta explain this for the people who listen.
Oh, Jim.
You kind of look like Kim Kardashian at the Met Gala.
Guys, the mask is what I wear the rest of the year. This is my thing.
There it is.
Welcome to Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, the man in the mask. And with me today, I have the ace team of Matt Aguilar.
What up?
Janelle Wheeler.
Hey, everybody.
And producer extraordinaire of our entire Comicbook.com podcast universe, Mr. Jim Viscardi is back with us.
Hello.
And as you can see, I'm getting into the spirit. It is Halloween, so we're going dark today. And we have to talk about some new horror-themed films that are going to be coming your way. Plus, we have a divisive debate about Marvel's Eternals we got to get to, some Halloween comics. But first, Matt, we have a special guest. Would you like to do some introductions?
We do. In the spirit of Halloween, we're going to talk some Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City. Yes. We're going to talk about it with the director, Johannes Roberts. Thank you so much.
This show is already so full of surprises.
Hey, guys.
What's up? Do you like my welcome to New York City?
I just wished that's the way it went. Raccoon City would have been amazing. I'm sure Sony would have gone with that.
Well, thank you so much for joining the show. It is no one is surprised by this. I am pumped for the Resident Evil movie. And just to kind of get started, I know the film combines the stories from the original game and Resident Evil 2. Mm-hmm. Why did you want to put kind of both of those into one through line story? And what was the most challenging part of kind of meshing them?
There's a lot of challenging parts to that movie. It was. Do you know what? When we looked at rebooting, I sort of came onto the project, and everybody knew we were going to sort of start the thing again, and it just nobody knew how or what to do, and it was just this idea of like, look, you have this amazing franchise that that is based on this amazing game that has never really been exploited at all. Like the whole previous franchise has never really sort of touched the actual game, and it was just the idea of going back to both the mansion and the police station, and when I pitched that, it just seemed like the right idea. And then it was like, okay, how can we combine this? I'm a huge John Carpenter fan, so I wanted to do it in all kind of one night, kind of Assault on Precinct 13 style. So but it was a very tricky thing to try and combine the narratives, keep faithful to the game, whilst making it its own thing. But it's super cool to have those like two like iconic locations. The two great, the police station, the mansion, and all the different characters coming into town and stuff. So it's very cool.
You touched on the thing I was going to ask as my follow-up. I think there are a lot of fans who know that this film franchise was one of the big action horror franchises of the 2000s, but it was such a departure for the game, from the game. So what can you just tell us about how your take on the franchise may kind of not correct, but take a different approach and maybe appease some of those fans who maybe want to see?
I mean, the thing is times have changed, I think. When the first film franchise came out, adapting a computer game was very much seen as, look, people know the name, take the IP, take the name, and then that's sort of baked in, and then just do whatever you want. Just take that name, do anything, and it has some value. And that's over the last 20 years, that's really changed, and there's become this real respect for the game, and I think games have just develop themselves and become so sophisticated as well. But it was this idea, and this became sort of paramount in the way that we pitched it and the way we sort of moved forward was, look, guys, let's take this seriously. This is like a novel. If you're adapting a novel, you take the source material very, very seriously. And it was the same with when we went back to the game, and it's like, look, let's go back. Let's tell what excited us when we were kids, when I played this as a student, and let's make like a super scary horror, and that's like to be like the horror guy coming on and like let's really make something that's terrifying, dark, scary, fits the tone, and it was just a really exciting thing that just hadn't been done before at all with the previous franchise. So I've a lot of fun.
I've got to ask, because it's one of my most formative early video game memories are the moments in the first Resident Evil game where you're entering a new room and the door, and all it is, it cuts to that open door. You literally have no idea what's behind or whatever. And like that, the sound, all of that haunts me to this day. And I think it's that sense of going into no, like I would imagine there have got to be some nods and stuff to like the gameplay. I just need to know: is there going to be creaky door openings into blackness? For the movie.
The things that I really wanted to do that we do is I wanted the creaky door, like open a door. Who the fuck knows what? But then is also the fucking. And I'm a terrible. I love games. I'm a sort of newer. I used to watch people play games and then became a gamer. So I'm a really bad gamer, but I love playing them. But this what we do it in the movie several times is the head down the corridor and then go, and then it's like where. And then back out. Oh shit! And then the zombies come back, and it's great. Like a couple of those things, and then the sort of the whole weird fixed angle camera stuff I threw in there as well.
Oh, that's awesome! And my follow up to that, and that'll be the last one before I let the other guys ask questions. Does the team run out of ink cartridges or ink ribbons? That may be a spoiler. That may be a spoiler question, and so if it is, that's fine.
Yes,
I just need to know if they're going to experience the same pain I'm going to experience playing this game.
They have to run into the safety room. It was fun. I mean, there's so many little tiny Easter eggs there. Almost to the point when I watch it myself, I'm like, how the fuck, there's a typewriter there. I didn't even remember, but how did that little fucker get there? There's loads in
okay, perfect, excellent, thank you.
Oh my god! So well, and that actually is perfect. Jen didn't even know this, but it's a perfect segue to my question, because that is one of the things that sticks out in the trailers. Like one of that first iconic zombie moment with the head turning up. Those are just etched in memories. Is there one of those moments that you couldn't find a way to get into the movie that you wanted to, and that just for whatever reason didn't work?
Do you know there's one that is I don't want to spoil anything. There's one that's one of my favorite ones, which is the body sitting up. Resident Evil. I had to put it in a very. I can't spoil them.
No. Okay, that is something for everyone to look forward to.
You gave us a teaser.
Now you know.
And recreated that perfectly. I was very, when you're like, and do you know what? I try to put everything in there. I was amazed, to be honest, at some of the stuff, which I mean, at the moment is like in the trailer, you have all the itchy tasty stuff sort of you know, I was amazed that we got that kind of stuff in there. Like I was waiting for someone to go like, why is she what
what is that? That's too far.
Get out of my set. Get off the set. Yeah. Play on the typewriter.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Janelle?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot. I used a lot, so yeah.
So what you're saying is lots of things that we need to focus on, like Easter eggs to find and like moments of, I don't know, excitement for longtime fans. So I guess the next question with that is, do you think you pulled more from the original games or the remakes? And which one do you prefer?
Do you know what I was? And actually, this possibly the one thing that I wanted to put in, and I just couldn't find a way to put in, was Mr. X. And there is a nod, and it's tricky to see, it's tricky to see in the shot. And I was like, just use that shot like there. It doesn't work in the movie. And I was like, okay, the movie, you have to actually tell a proper movie rather than just use the shots that you want. But I think its core comes from the nerdiness of growing up on those original games, for sure. Like it was such a big. It's funny. I was speaking about this with someone and just saying how, like, I'm just the biggest horror nerd, and the games when the games came out, I wasn't a gamer at all. I was just totally into cinema, and horror was in such a bad place at the time, and the Carpenters of the world were just not cool anymore, and then in England the only movies that were horror movies that you could go out and see were like Anaconda, and it was like Wes Craven was doing Scream, but I didn't get that was kind of horror for people that didn't like horror in my mind at the time. It was horror for people that didn't like horror, and it was just like a really bad time. And then the original games came out, and gaming suddenly became this whole different thing with the whole PlayStation world and stuff like that. And the games were like referencing all these kind of movies that were in my heart, and I was like, oh wow, this is stuff like I thought nobody liked any of this. I thought I was the uncoolest person, and I am the uncoolest person. But I was like, oh wow, this is great, and it really had an impact on me, even though I didn't know how to. I would watch people. I'd watch them as like when we were talking about the Doors. I'd be like, "Holy fuck, they're going!"
I was the same way with Doom. I would just watch my cousin play it, and I knew everywhere to go, and I knew what weapons to use, but like I didn't play it. Yeah,
look,
I mean,
sometimes behind the door there was nothing. Sometimes behind the door there was a giant ass zombie waiting to come for you.
How long I spent in the sound department going, "Yeah, I get it. Like what you've done here is amazing. Like it's 20. It's like this is great, but I want more."
That's so great.
No, it has to be like. So that would be it. But so the fabric of the movie comes from the nerdiness of that. But Resident Evil 2 remake just changed my world. Like I then became, from that moment on, I became like a full-on gamer, a terrible gamer, but a full-on gamer. And I was like, we were just in the stage. We had, by the time that game came out, we had already known we were going to go back to the mansion and the police station and tell the story, combine the two narratives. But then I started playing that game, and I was like, "Oh, this tone, this look, this feel, it just blew me away." I was like, "This is everything that I want to have in the movie." So I very much use that, and when you watch the movie, you can see that the remake of 2 is kind of baked in. Is from the word go. Is sort of baked into the whole fabric of it, and it does have that tone and the look, and and hopefully the gore as well. We managed to push things much further than I thought we would be able to. So it's a bit of a mixture. It has the nerd, but then it has like what I was, currently I was like, oh fuck, this is great. This is pushing boundaries, So I tried to take that into it.
Love it.
That's awesome. One of the things that is noticeable. I'm a huge Jill Valentine fan, and a huge Barry fan. So so this movie takes kind of it seems anyway from the trailers that it kind of takes more of a look at like the Redfields. What can you kind of tell us about Jill Valentine's role in this movie? And was there ever a version of the script that you had Barry in there and just like you changed it up for Wesker?
Yes. Jill Valentine is the one of the leads in the movie. So it's ensemble. It's pure like I say, it's pure John Carpenter. So it really is an ensemble movie, and Jill is fucking great in the movie. I'm okay to swear on this. Sorry, I'm English and I do swear a lot.
It's totally fine. We get it in post.
Suddenly looking down at the faces, and I was like, "Oh, wait a second! Wait, we're on a kids show here. Like, it's a kid Halloween show."
No, you're fine.
No, they don't allow us to call ourselves that. Yeah, they do not. We're like a PG. We're like a Dark Knight PG-13 show. Like,
okay.
we call it. We're hard PG-13, but
okay. I'll try and
you're perfect with
watch my language. And so she. What was really interesting with the whole Jill Valentine thing, and was one of the big challenges of combining the two games is, gaming is you pick your characters and you live kind of through them, and they want to be. You're sort of experiencing the world through them, and it's all about the world rather than your character in the way that a movie is. And you have to. The problem became like a particularly. I mean, it's very, very apparent in the remakes of 2 and 3 game. It's like you put Claire and Jill together; they're very similar. In those it's just kind of the two same and you have to be very careful, like that you need to develop one character one way and one character the other, that sometimes maybe in the game that it can sort of cross over a little, but with Hannah we really explored she is, because she herself is like a live wire. She's fucking bonkers. Like trying to talk to her is like you just never quite know. She's just a little bit all over the place, like this crazy woman. And that live wire aspect of her really came to life with the Jill Valentine in the movie. And I think people are going to really have fun with her. She's funny but she's like kick-ass. Awesome. I really liked working with her. Bonkers woman. So that was cool. And then Barry, there's a great nod to the Barry world. Do you know what? When there were versions of Barry in the script. I have no idea what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say.
For your sake, let's err on the side of caution. When the movie comes out, you come back and we're gonna go full spoiler territory. And it'll be
this isn't really spoiler territory. Yeah, Barry's not in the movie. Sure. I'm sorry, Barry fans, but there's some funny. People get it. But Barry is consciously not in the movie. We had discussions. Barry's going to have his time. Is all I will say. Like you don't need to worry about Barry. He's waiting in the wings. He's waiting.
That makes me feel good.
Which was really the reason he didn't ponder
Sure.
into this movie. But yeah, he hasn't been forgotten.
Awesome. Jim, you want to take this last one?
Yeah, I mean, look. So one of the things when I saw that trailer, I mean, obviously the thing that I marked out the most for are the zombie dog, the liquor, obviously, right, and all that stuff. So, how, given that these things have showed up in the games and the game, and they're, being rendered, digitally and all that, like to begin with, how much of, well, I guess how important for you was it for it to really kind of be a one-to-one kind of translation on the look there versus where, like in movies like this, there's usually the opportunity to either update the look or modify the look, but like these look legit. And so how can you walk us through that process on just like the look, even for like the CGI, creatures and the other nods there on what that process was for you to make sure you get right?
It was a weird thing. It definitely became more and more important as the movie went on. It was weird. We kind of got caught up in. I've never really worked on something that has been so focused, important and stuff, and it became as obvious while we were filming how like important some of this stuff was, and it was really exciting, and so actually things became more and more important to get like to really lean into and get closer and closer to what we felt was faithful to the games. But I loved like trying to recreate with everything, whether it be the creatures or the locations. We'd spend a lot of time trying to be really faithful to it. Just purely, I'm always nervous about this kind of, for the fans stuff, because you never know what people what they don't like. So I was just doing it for me. I was like, I want to walk on the set of the mansion. I want to see a liquor. I want to, so I was just like being a nerd. So we a lot of it, we really went to town to try and be like as faithful as we could, but whilst giving its own vibe. I mean, my favorite by far of the movie is the Lisa Trevor stuff. It's great where we really, that hadn't been done before. And it wasn't just a case of just, CG or put someone in a suit. We got like Marina is crazy bonkers performance artist. Like the shit she can do is amazing, and she really invested in the character. And she then actually, interestingly, is the liquor as she was then
very cool
artist for the liquor. And so because I tried to keep everything as like, obviously we you have to these days use a lot of CG and stuff like that, but there's a lot of practical stuff going on in there, and there's always stuff, even with the dog. There's a lot of practical elements there always, even if it's like I wish you could see the stuff without the dog in there. the guys, but it's great. I grew up on movies like Cujo and stuff, so I sort of really wanted to lean into that, the stuff that really gelled with me there. So we did, yes. I mean, the interesting thing is we didn't go straight there. Like, you could look at like our liquor designs. You have on one side, like, the ones with the trunks and the unicorns and the wings, right down to, so we would try everything. We would throw everything out. We'd move it all around, and then, come to where we felt was the right place. And sometimes it is what we try to do is really go exactly what the game is, and then and there's some cool shit at the end which I don't want to spoil, but where it goes to with some of the monster stuff is it's taking from the games, but then doing our own thing. And, I mean, probably the excitement when Capcom saw the game, saw the movie, and their excitement of the horror that we had, the sort of balance between the horror and action, sort of gore and stuff like that, that balance that they always have been trying to straddle, and their excitement on that was probably the best sort of kick I got for the whole process. So
That's so great.
Yeah, so it's like it's a mixture. We tried to keep it close to the games, but yeah, the movie is its own world as well. So it does its own thing.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of do at some point after the movie comes out want to see the test of the unicorn horn and the wings, hoping that makes its way online at some point. Just throwing that out there. Thank you so much for spending all this time with us. I'm very excited for this movie. I cannot wait. And yes, definitely would love to talk spoilers with you at some point after the movie comes out. It hits theaters on November 24th. I cannot tell you. Thank you so much for
joining the name. Most importantly, a name of the movie again. Always.
Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City.
Hey.
Welcome to Evil Raccoons. Welcome to Raccoon City. Thank you very much for joining us on Comic Book Nation today. Everybody, go check this out. It is the scary season. It is time to get back into horror. Resident Evil is the flagship of horror. Like, why not do it? All right.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day.
Bye.
We're going to take a quick break. Strap yourselves in, because when we get back, it is time for our 100% spoiler-free debate about Eternals. 3 out of the 4 of us have seen Marvel's Eternals, and we're just here to answer one basic question. Is Marvel's Eternals a good movie? Stick around, because when we get back, it's going down, I promise you. So stick around, Comic Book Nation. We'll be back in 1 second. We are back. This is Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com, and we just finished our interview with the director of Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. So if you missed that part, be sure to go check it out. We are going to move on now and talk about what we advertised in the headline of this episode, which is Marvel's Eternals. So Marvel's Eternals still has yet to hit theaters. We got about a week to go. So we are not going to spoil a single thing about
Countdown
this
is on
for you. Yeah, it's the final countdown. We're just in rock ballads today.
A lot of singing today.
Yeah. Except from Janelle, oddly enough. But, this is the kind of Friday we're on. We still have time, too. So,
Okay.
Myself, Janelle Wheeler, and Jim Viscardi have all seen Marvel's Eternals. Matt is still in the dark, although I don't know if he cares about that or not. I've never been quite clear. He doesn't. So there you go. All right. And we're going to talk about, is Marvel's Eternals a good movie? And you're going to hear some things. If you've been perusing the internet and avoiding spoilers, you've probably heard there is some consensus out here. This is very much unlike a lot of the MCU movies we've ever seen before. It's a very different kind of feel, a very different kind of format. You've heard probably it's going to divide a lot of people for different reasons. And you may have heard that, people had issues with some of the plot or the overabundance of exposition and such like that. So I'm going to say that I believe that the spectrum of opinion on this, and I'm not trying to speak for the other people here, but I believe it is. I think I'm the most negative. Janelle's probably the most positive, and Jim is somewhere in the middle.
We're the three bears.
Yeah, there we go.
That's fair.
Yeah, and that's a good spread. That's a good spread to have. And so it's a good range of opinion to present you guys with about Eternal. So I know a lot of people have been kind of tweeting or just sending me messages kind of waiting on eggshells about why I'm going to quote unquote bash Eternals, but I'm not here to bash anything. I've been doing this long enough to know that there's something that everybody can enjoy, right? So, like, even if I don't like something, some of y'all might do it. And I'm just going to take back to this old theory of criticism, which is I'm just telling you what I've observed as a person who watches and interprets movies, and you guys can take it for whatever it's worth. I believe that Eternals is a miss for Marvel. I think I tweeted out something along the lines of like, move over Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 2, like Eternals has entered the chat, something snarky like that. But I'm not saying is that I think it's a bad movie, because I think we've all had this debate. I think we did it last show about, how the dark, or I think, no, it was on Phase Zero, which I listen in on, like I'm part of it and yell at Brandon and them all the time. But
fanboy. Love
yeah,
it.
exactly. So more like a troll, I guess they would categorize me probably as. But like they were talking about how films like The Dark World or Iron Man 2 have come around and people now love it. It's the same thing, Star Wars prequels, everything that people didn't like maybe at the time, might find its audience later. So I meant that in the sense that I believe that even though people have come around, when people make those MCU lists and rank MCU movies, you're still going to find Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 2 towards the bottom of pretty much any consensus of rankings between people who watch Marvel movies. And I think Eternals is going to end up in that bottom 5 as well. I say that with confidence that I think it will, just because I don't think it's going to connect with enough people on enough levels to make it one. The interesting question I've asked a lot of people who are praising this is, like, how many times will you sit down and watch it? Which Chris Killian tried to answer and say, and I think he thought he was making a good point by saying, comparing it to like watching a film like Schindler's List, which is dicey to begin with. But
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's it. That's Chris Killian's direct quote. That's, you talk to Chris Killian.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's move on. But like the thing is that saying that it's a film, he was making the point, let's just be clear, that a film can be troubling and hard to watch and deeply connect with you and still be considered a good film, was his point.
Right.
That not rewatchability does not designate automatically what a good film is or is not. And I agree with what he said there. Absolutely.
That's true.
At the same time, I think people are not going to watch Eternals again because it's not that great of a film, and they're not going to. Watch.
Okay. So let me ask you this though, then, Kofi. Like, so your hesitations or your reservations on the movie aside, let's say you didn't see the movie.
Yeah.
You saw the discourse online. Would you still go see it?
Me, absolutely. I always take criticism with a grain of salt, and as just a guide. It's just it's a guiding rail. It doesn't tell me. There's not one. Peter Travers does not tell me whether I go see a movie or not. You know what I mean? Like I listen to what Peter Travers says, and I know what kind of opinion he's going to have, and that gives me a frame of reference to let me know how I will or will not. So no, I mean, I'm still going to go see it, and I don't expect anybody. I have not said to anybody, you've never noticed, I have not said the words, do not go see this.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm just getting people to temper their expectations for
that's what I want to, and that's what I want to make perfectly, or I kind of want to emphasize, right? Where, like, that's how you should consume criticism in a way, right? Like, don't let it be your one all be all, right? Like, these are all film experiences. But you use them as references to when going in, because I see a lot of people being like, oh well, there's bad reviews now, I'm not going to go see it. And I think while and kind of jumping into kind of some of my thoughts on the film, there's a lot of movie here, and there's a lot of movie here in the same way that there's a lot of comics in the comics, and there's a lot of big grand ideas that even at its runtime is not necessarily enough to truly unpack. And that's one of my biggest kind of criticisms where we're like, yes, I feel like the movie drones on a little bit too long for in certain aspects of the film. But I think if you replace that time spent with more stuff to help unpack what this movie is, I still think you need more time. And like, I don't know if you I don't think the answer is making this movie a 2-part movie, because that's certainly not the key. And I don't even necessarily know if this is a movie where it is better served off as a limited TV series, because I don't think that's the answer
I
either.
think it would have been. and this is where I want to jump in. I think my problem with Eternals is that Eternals feels like a movie that needed to be more. I think people are giving it this pass as like it's this more serious and deep MCU movie, and I totally disagree with that assessment. I feel like this is a movie that could have been really deep and could have been really serious, but it's still made by Disney. And therefore, I don't think it ever goes far enough in any one of the directions that and there are a lot of directions that this introduces, that it ever commits to any of them, that you get this kind of Iron Man 2 muddling of, individual story and deep character story and MCU world building and all this kind of fantastical, crazy stuff. And it doesn't work. And this one is the one where it doesn't work the most. And for the reasons I thought of just from the moment I saw this, like, I think this movie it's a movie that there's part of this story that is like the past. I mean, it's not a spoiler to say part of this is about the Eternals and how they've been embedded in humanity across generations and what the effect of that has been on each of them as individuals. And it never goes too far into any of that for any characters, or these contemplative philosophical things about the nature of humanity. And are we a species that has, grand potential and we're saving, usual sci-fi stuff. None of this is new, but it never commits. And so you get these kind of muted attempts at these stories, none of which feel fulfilling enough at all. And it's just kind of like you're eating a buffet of hors d'oeuvres without a main course ever.
Ooh, a buffet.
I tweeted this. I tweeted this earlier, and I think it's an incredibly apt description. And I think one of the biggest issues that I think a lot of people who have seen the movie are having a hard time dealing with is, like, you hear a lot. It's like it doesn't feel like a Marvel movie. And honestly, it feels more like a DC movie than anything else, and not like. And I don't say that.
Don't bring this mess to DC.
Why?
Hold on. Not good analogy. Don't bring this mess to DC.
I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I just mean DC heroes are always portrayed as as gods, and how they interact with the world. And this is the first Marvel movie where we have had characters like that having that kind of view on what we know as the MCU.
Actually very
and so it's a very different kind of movie. These are very different kinds of characters, because they're not like the characters that we're used to seeing in the MCU.
I have two questions.
Sure.
One, because I want to hear what Janelle thinks on this. But I don't feel like you've said anywhere, Jim. Did you like the movie or no?
There you go.
Did you actually? I've heard you
produce around
around it, but you have not said.
I have issues with the movie. If I were to rate it, I'd probably rate it a 7. And a lot of that is like there are things throughout the movie, and we'll get into it when we talk spoilers later on, that really annoyed me about like the film itself.
Okay.
The concepts that the film introduces, the things that Chloe Zhao does to help make the Eternals fit into the MCU better in a way than the comics have the Eternals fit into the regular Marvel universe make total and perfect sense. I went into this movie expecting to like certain characters, and I came out of the movie liking completely different characters. It's not that I didn't like the characters.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't like the characters that I thought I was going to like. I was never a Phobos fan, a Phastos fan. I was never a Phastos fan. And this movie, he is probably now my number one favorite Eternal.
I said it in social media. Let me be clear here too. The cast of Eternals is great. The director of Eternals is really talented. Like, Chloe Zhao is really talented. And there are some, the naturalistic, just like I made a joke about Terrence Malick, but like she can give Terrence Malick a run for that naturalistic and light money. Like, there are so many money shots in this movie that are really beautiful. And the cast is all really great. Like, the Eternals cast are each like stars, in my opinion. There's not one of them that I was like, oh, that's a weak link in the acting ensemble cast. Like, they're each good. So I don't think a problem is with any of that. I think, and I have said this before, I think sometimes Marvel writes itself into a corner. We debate. I was a big stumper for Captain Marvel committing the sin of writing that character and that introduction to that character into a very tight corner that was very hard to manage based on how you were depicting the character. And I think Eternals hits the same kind of problem in how, and I'm not going to spoil anything about who these characters are and, you know, what their story is all about in this quote unquote origin, or how they're kind of becoming new heroes in this story, leaves us in a place where I still think this franchise has potential, even if this first film is a misstep. I think there's more fun to be had after we've gotten over all this and gotten the Eternals through the door of the MCU. There's so much more fun to be had with these characters than there is in this particular film.
Okay, enough from us. Janelle, you really liked it. Let's hear from you.
Well, now that you guys got me reading comics, I can't say I'm the person that goes in like, oh, I'm the fresh perspective. Did I like it or not reading the comics? So now I have to bring those people with me. And I actually brought someone with me that knew nothing about the film and the characters. Big superhero fan, but like TV movie content. And she was really happy with it. So I would say that, like, if you are someone who is afraid, you know, I know nothing about Eternals, like, you can still go to this, you can experience it and enjoy it. I personally I was emotional several times watching this film. Like, I don't, obviously, this sucks not being able to spoil things or talk about like specific moments that like really spoke to me.
But it's your job. You got it.
I know. But there were moments of just like, I just felt aligned with certain characters, and I felt really, I just felt this like human connection. I almost felt like I was like in the movie. Like I was like, oh, I could see this like actually happening, and I'm like a human watching all of this. And you know, certain people are doing certain things to help me as a human, and like, and I again, just like Jim said, I did not expect like certain characters, and then I like did some flippy floppies, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually really like this one character that I didn't think I would, and I don't like this actor, but I liked how they depicted the character, like things like that. I wrote in my tweet, I was like, I am personally wanting to see where it goes from here. I feel kind of connected to several of these characters that we're hanging out with. And here's another thing.
How?
I was not spoiled on the end credit scene. I literally had no idea what was going to happen. I know there's a huge leak and everybody knew. So I think I was most disappointed by the end credit scene, because I was just kind of like, wait, that's it? Like, I totally thought it was going to be someone else that appeared, and I was just kind of like, oh.
You're going too far, kid. You're going to Charlie. You're going full Charlie on us.
I don't really, I'm not impressed with the end credit scene.
Is there even one? We don't know. We don't even know. You're gonna have to stick around. We don't even know. I don't even know if there was one.
Well, but that's it. But I will say this, right? Like they're like, this is not spoiling anything. The post credit scenes are legit great post credit scenes.
No, they're not.
What are you? What?
No, they're not.
Kofi.
No, they're not. I'm sorry, but no, they're not. No, they're not.
Crazy pants.
I'm gonna tell them. Okay, I'm just gonna put it out there to the world. No, they are not.
I agree with
Come
Kofi
back
on
when
that.
the movie comes out, and I want to see what the audience thinks, because I will be right and Kofi will be wrong.
I'm going to be watching this again, though, in the theater. Like, I will.
And especially the last one. Like, no, Jim. No, it's
what?
It's not. Okay. I mean, all right. So we're going to talk Eternal spoilers. Phase Zero will have, I'm sure, something on this coming Wednesday, and we will be back next Friday when Eternals is in theaters to talk full spoilers. And there's more serious things I want to talk about too, because I do want to talk about some of the social stuff. I want to talk about the kind of inclusion and, you know, all of that, and some problems I have with that. But we're going to get into that next week when we go full Eternal spoilers. So please come back, because by then I'm sure we'll all be chomping at the bit to go at it again and really get into this and dig into each other's souls about our humanity and such. So come back and check that out next week when we talk Eternals, and be sure to check out Phase Zero on our Marvel podcast on Wednesday. What else is going on? Before we got reviews coming up, and just on our what to watch this week, something I'm spontaneously kind of rebranding for the show. It's called What to Watch, and I'm calling it that because we're just going to give you guys a quick rundown on things that are coming out, movies, TV shows, games, etc., you know, that we've had a chance to experience, want to put on your radar. But it's also fun and interactive, I figured out, because you guys can go to the @Comic Book Nation Twitter and send us things, recommendations of what you should think we should talk about or watch, and you can get in on that. Let's make it interactive, So for our first kind of what to watch, we're going to throw to Matt because it's a good segue. We're going from Marvel over to Marvel because Matt and Janelle maybe even Jim have had a chance to dig into the new Guardians of the Galaxy video game. So Matt, give us a not what to watch, but what to play on that.
Yes, so it is out now, and this is another one from Square Enix. So this one is from Eidos Montreal, I believe. And it is. Look, we talked about this like way back when they released the first trailer, and I was not as hyped about this. I was like, do I need another Guardians game? Like, it's only Star-Lord. So I was a little negative on it. I admit. So when I went into this, I did not expect to be absolutely floored. And be like, oh my god, this is just so like yes, you control only Star-Lord, but they do such a good job of mixing in the other guard. Like when you're in battle, you're as like if you just go in and tanking as Star-Lord and try and kill everybody by yourself, you will die. You will you will die. And you
I did that.
I did too. Like
I
initially,
like,
you will have to involve everybody, and the options that you unlock for them, because each Guardian has their own set of abilities that you unlock as the game goes on, and you can really kind of find a teamwork dynamic that fits your play style, and it's so satisfying. It's so fun. At least for me. What did you think of the battle system, Janelle?
Oh gosh, I mean, I'm new. Okay, so like this is not my style of game. I'm like a Mario girl. I'm a retro girl. Like I race, like stuff like that. And I was so nervous getting into this. I was so afraid. I am not a first person shooter. I don't do any fighting. I'm good at the melee attack. Like that's it.
Wait. Except I've seen Janelle Wheeler in an arcade with a margarita in her hand in front of Area 51, and it becomes a very different story.
Holding the gun in my hand. I'm good at that.
Yeah, you are unabashedly good at that. You will tell everybody in the room, like,
yes,
I will lay you down.
Okay, fine. I'm very good at Area 51.
Okay, there we go.
But
so shooters.
When I can actually physically aim, I'm good. But and anyways, it was easy. Like I got it. I picked it up. I'm remembering how, which buttons to push. And the only thing I forgot was to trigger my team, but we got that. And it's really pretty. It's so pretty. I love it. It's just really exciting. And it's a very good game, and I'm playing it today because I'm loving it.
It's super fun. And also they do a really good job of like the Guardians feel like they could be in the MCU, but they also feel like the comic characters too.
Yeah.
They're their own thing. Star-Lord especially, and I really like this Star-Lord. You really get, honestly, this might be my favorite version of Gamora. I love their take on Gamora. And then also Star-Lord, like I think they did a better job. They actually dive into his origin story and like how he got to this point and stuff in a way that I don't really feel like the movies, and sometimes even the comics, certain comics have, but like not all the time have dived into that like that. And it was really good. Like there's an emotional story here. Yeah. The dialogue never stops. Like these dudes talk, and it's all new stuff all the time. Like if you go off and search for a hidden item, Rocket will comment and go, "Why are you leaving the party? Like, what are you doing? Stop searching for stuff."
It makes it very hard to stream because you're like trying to talk over them. I mean, they literally don't stop talking.
Yeah, it's really good. So if you were on the fence, I really suggest at least giving it a shot, because it was way better than I ever thought it would be. And I want a sequel.
Here's the hard question: as the one person who's kept Marvel's Avengers alive for the last year, how does this game compare to that game?
Infinitely better, Kofi.
Okay, no. Jim doesn't get
this is for Matt. This is just for Matt.
You're one of those that played Marvel's Avengers for like 4 hours and then left. And so
the game couldn't keep my attention because it was a snooze fest.
No. No bandwagoners. All right. So here's the thing. I have finished every expansion. I have finished every expansion of Marvel's Avengers.
For 4 hours of gameplay,
it is
not
all right. We're getting comments about how we're yelling at each other too much. Everybody's
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Matt, take your
answer. The Galaxy.
I loved it.
Ironically,
I want to hear Matt's answer.
Ironically, Jim is overdoing. Like it is. It's a better game. Like Guardians is a better game than Marvel's Avengers. I was going to agree with him, but my opinion is informed. So that's the difference. I played every single expansion. Black Panther's expansion was excellent, by the way, but again, if we're just talking like the experience and I think Guardians grabs you quicker, and I just love the gameplay. I mean, it's really fun. So I mean, yes, I think it's a better game. And it made me want the studio to tackle someone else. I don't know who that would be.
I have to dip, but the gameplay, the dialogue, the designs, all of it, even the reward system, the way you get skins, the way the skins that they chose. Look, you're not getting hockey player Captain America, hockey goalie Captain America in this game.
Yeah, but that hasn't been the case for so long, Jim.
But
that hasn't been the case in Marvel's Avengers.
Don't let Jim derail you. He's on his way out.
Apples to apples, or when the game,
no,
when both games
you judge them. You judge them now. You judge them now. You judge them now.
How they launch.
You were saying that a game that has 4 expansions worth of story, and by the way, each one of those have been great. The story in Marvel's Avengers was never the problem. It was all the other stuff.
All right, Jim, you gotta go. We gotta move on.
I love you all.
All right, Jim Biscardi, producer Jim Biscardi, thank you for showing up. All right, so, all right, that's Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy game. If you missed that heated little peppery debate, I thought it was going to be.
How did that turn into an argument?
I don't know. I thought it was going to be Eternals.
Complimentary.
I set this whole episode up for an Eternals debate, and now we got a Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy debate. Typical. Comic Book Nation. So the next thing on our docket is Paranormal Activity Next of Kin, the Paranormal Activity 7, the franchise. It's Halloween time. If you're looking for something in the horror genre new this weekend, the next chapter of Paranormal Activity, which is kind of this soft reboot thing that they were doing that's very popular in horror. And, Paranormal Activity is going the route, no pun intended, that the Wrong Turn franchise has gotten. I don't know if you saw the Wrong Turn reboot that came out in the last year, but instead of taking it out of the woods, they're doing these. Horror is having this kind of love affair again with off the grid societies, satanic societies, and cults and stuff like that. Obviously from our society, our social anxieties these days. The obsessions about cult-like mentality and crazy stuff is in vogue. So Paranormal Activity is getting in on that act by taking the mythos, which basically, is about demonic possession centered around young girls and family lines and things like that, and applying it to this kind of cult, off the grid cult structure, right? So it's about a young girl who figures out who's was orphaned and tracks her origins back to this place and goes to do a documentary about her life and her search for her mother and stuff like that, which gets wrapped up in a whole Paranormal Activity type deal. So this is out on Paramount Plus right now. It came out today just in time for Halloween weekend, and I had a chance to sit down and watch it in the middle of the night. Did you guys get a chance to watch this, Matt, Janelle?
I did not. You guys, I'm terrible with horror.
Okay, that's okay.
So freaked out.
I watched the first hour.
Okay.
I did not make it through the whole thing, but I watched the first hour mostly because these movies really creep me the hell out.
Really? Oh my gosh.
And this one is good. I was one of the first people to see the first Paranormal Activity and do a review on it when it premiered in New York, way back when nobody knew what it was. And I was just and I saw the concept of it on one of these random screener invites from a low, just an indie theater. And I was like, okay, I'll go check this out. This sounds cool. And I did not sleep that night because not because the movie itself is so scary, but it did what good horror does, which is turn your everyday surroundings into something scary.
Yeah.
And
all of a sudden the stairs are creepy.
And just going to sleep in your bedroom at night. Paranormal Activity made that scary. And your spouse, and I've been with my wife for so many years. She was with me when that came out. And just going to sleep next to her and being waking up in the night and being are you standing over me? You staring? You going full Katie on me? Am I about to get murdered here? It did a good job of doing that. And I became one of those people who track the Paranormal Activity mythos. I have a bunch of articles out there explaining each chapter and how it links. I was obsessed with this for a while. But it got really silly towards when you started doing the marked ones and the ghost dimension and all this other stuff. You lost me. So this one is a kind of refreshing return to just the simple formula. Girl goes to farm and, discovers that, her reasons for being there are not as innocent and safe as she might think. And this does not force you to watch all those other Paranormal Activities in the larger mythos. All you got to understand is there are people who are trying to keep these demons possessing these young girls. And this one makes a bigger rumination on that about it, of the gender part of it, in a kind of interesting way. But it's just a nice return to form. And it works better when it's not just one apartment and like surveillance camera viewing, but found footage in the way of making like a, the faux documentary style, so they can move around and have reasons for holding the cameras in different places. And that holds together pretty well. The climax gets a little, like all found footage climaxes, there's a break with the format where you're like, okay, well, nobody would really be shooting this, or it would just be like a bunch of things, but it's still good. So
that's true.
Still
that didn't keep me from not like loving Cloverfield. Like I've always loved Cloverfield, but at some point you drop the camera, you run away.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you always got to suspend that disbelief. But the climax of this one is, freaky. Like if you were scared, you should have bailed out, Matt, because this is the best finale of any Paranormal Activity movie, because it's not in somebody's home and watching ghosts in a home, because you're in this open community that's in the woods and on this farmlands. You can create a big third act set piece finale where things really hit the fan, and it's like a bigger survival.
I think that's why it worked for me, is because the hour I watched, I actually really enjoyed. At some point, like I get the original Paranormal Activity did a number on me, like for a minute, as did, by the way, the original Blair Witch.
Yeah, no, me too.
The footage thing, like, okay, the people kneeling still freaks me out to this day. Okay, like that whole thing. So like, because this one was like outdoors and kind of had that more woodsy setting, I kept getting Blair Witch vibes.
Oh, it's very Blair Witchy.
Yeah, and that was like, oh, that freaks me out.
And when you get, and if you get to the third act, if you are like claustrophobic or anything like that, like, man,
God,
yeah, they do a good job. This one does a good job in really making the scares like really.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to finish it now.
No, you got to finish it. I want to watch it again, which is my biggest selling point. Is this is a good restart, and the finale is really, really good, and the way it sets up the franchise is very different, and for a much more exciting Paranormal Activity to come. So I highly recommend checking out Paranormal Activity Next to Kin. It's still found footage. If you hated that trend in horror, this doesn't reinvent the wheel. It's the same thing. But this is a very good start for the franchise again. And I'm kind of excited of seeing this again and where it could go from here. So check out Paranormal Activity Next to Kin, now streaming on Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus is great because, Paramount is putting up these originals. They have whole slews of originals, and they got great stuff coming out now. We got this for Halloween. We got a South Park movie coming in for Thanksgiving. So,
season 2 of iCarly.
Oh my god! Yes.
Oh god!
And my show Evil with my boy Mike Coulter from Luke Cage is also great. So I'm an Evilite, so check that out too. Army of Thieves is now on Netflix. The prequel to Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. I'm still got about an hour to go because I couldn't finish this morning. I was too busy. And plus I already got up in the middle of the night to see Paranormal. Oh God, that's the one you watched. So far, yeah, I had to make a judgment call and I did it. So basically, Army of the Dead is cool in the sense that you got, Matthias, whatever his name's character, Ludwig from Army of the Dead, who was a breakout character. But this is really, it's only Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead universe in the most tangential sense. It's very much just a kind of knockoff Guy Ritchie crime heist movie with a love story thrown in the middle. And it's just a by the numbers heist movie.
It's fun.
Yeah, but it's fun. But I'm just saying, like, I'm just telling the people, like, if you were expecting
if you're expecting
Army
zombies,
of the Dead,
don't.
This is not. This is a universe expanding tie-in prequel in just, like I said, the most tangential sense.
You like Ocean's 11, but not
exactly.
Yeah, it's fun though. I really am enjoying this. I have like 30 minutes left, but I'm like, darn it, I have to pause it to do the podcast. I'm like really excited about it. I like it a lot.
From what I have seen so far, I agree with Janelle because I haven't finished either. But from what I have seen so far, it's fun.
It's fun. It's very really fun. But it's still, there's still the larger question of what this Army of the Dead universe is, and like what are we doing here?
Like it's totally different genre. Like exactly. It's a completely different
thing. It's a heist movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has fun characters. It's good to see
Yeah.
Natalie Emmanuel getting to like, stand out and
She's
do
great.
more than being like the backup in Game
Yeah.
of Thrones or Fast and Furious and getting a starring role, and she does good. And the crew is funny of characters that they put together for this heist. But it just made me think of that Rick and Morty heist episode where they talk about like every heist movie is the same and they basically break that down. So, but it's out there on Netflix, and again, great. If you're looking for something to watch this weekend and you don't want something on the scary side, Army of Thieves is a good recommendation. Oh, Matt, you have we got to move fast at this last part. Matt, you got some game trailers you wanted to talk about, and Witcher season 2 trailer.
Only because you teased it. So you teased it on social, so I'll just hit that real quick. Halo Infinite dropped a trailer, and I remember being very down. And I think honestly, Jim was here too during that time. I was very down on that initial trailer, and honestly, everybody was. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Holy cow! I was like, this is what they should have shown then. That trailer and the gameplay overview, if you haven't watched that, which shows a lot of up close stuff like the new grappling hook and stuff. Oh my God. Like this was the first time since the new console generation took over that I wanted an Xbox. I was like, that game looks fun as hell. I want to start spamming grenades. Like I want to do that stuff. I want to jump in there. So that looked good. So props to Halo Infinite for looking awesome. And then also, yes, they dropped a brand new trailer, season 2 trailer for The Witcher. And it looks so dope.
Majestic.
It looks so good. There's so much there's like Geralt chopping people and like
magic.
The swordplay.
Groot is in there.
Also, our first look at the Leshy and the Bruxa, both monsters. Like you see the Bruxa in bat form, and then the Leshin you see like towards the end, and like oh my God, there's also a scene in Kaer Morhen that shows like the Witchers, and maybe there was some leaks earlier and some things that are like I wonder if those things are connected. A lot of really cool stuff here. Triss, so much stuff. So definitely check that out. We'll have more on it on Comicbook.com. So that's my spiel.
All right, Witcher, Halo, all you gamers are getting good time to be you gamers. Let's finish out with Matt breaking down these comics of this week. We got some good Halloween themed comics. Although Matt kept me from reading one. I think he just wanted to bogart it for you and Janelle. So
wait, which one?
Long Halloween, fool. You never gave me my code. You never got to read it.
I sent it to you.
No, I didn't get it.
I check your Slack.
Anyway, let's start with the other comics that I did get to read. Matt.
Oh my God. So let's start off with DC versus Vampires, which by the way, not any planning on our part, but it just worked out that like all of the books this week were very spooky Halloween themed. So James Tynion, and this was a just really, I didn't know what to expect from this book.
Yeah.
And going in, there was a lot of talk about it, but you didn't really know what to expect. And what we end up getting is kind of this really interesting mystery, you don't know how far the invasion of the vampires has taken. And then you're slowly it peels it back, and you're like, oh my God, this has really gone deep. And I don't know, it was way more interesting than I thought it was, or than I thought it would be.
Agreed.
I think they nailed a perfect mix of kind of doing horror, but like a DC crossover event mystery, like you said. And there's a big twist in like the third act of this book that Infinite and makes it much more exciting. Because like you say, you realize like this is not like a slow buildup. You're in the middle of it already, and like it is on. And there's a lot of similarities between this and like the Star Wars books this week that we read that came out. In the sense of like secret societies being there that you didn't realize had already infiltrated and done all this stuff. That twist made it very exciting to see where this goes next. And I was surprised how effective the mix of horror and DC kind of superhero comic-y lore worked in this. And from a very unexpected point of view and central character in the book. So it was good.
You nailed it. That's exactly what it is. Obviously, this is one that we don't want to spoil. So like, it's just a really fun twist. And then even the end is kind of like a cliffhanger. Like, okay, what's going to happen now? Like,
Yeah.
with the information that we're getting. So yeah, it was exciting and perfect for the holidays.
This
The
felt
holidays.
when I after I read this, because by the way, this was James Tynion and Matthew Rosenberg. They collabed on this, and then Otto Schmidt's art. Oh my god, it's gorgeous. But this was very much. This felt like a Tom Taylor, like deceased, or like he's got a bunch of different kinds. Dark Ages is another one. Like they always kind of feel like there's these little mini events, and they launch into something that just kind of has its own feel. This very much felt like one of those, and I say that in a very complimentary way because I don't think Tom Taylor's wrote anything that I didn't at least like. I pretty much like everything. So yeah, very surprised. Next up, we're gonna move into House of Slaughter #1, which is the spin-off series for, again, James Tynion, very Tynion centric episode here, for his Something is Killing the Children series, which if you're not reading that is fantastic. You definitely should.
Oh, is this a spin-off?
Yeah, this is a spin-off. And this
Okay.
features Aaron from so Aaron has been he is essentially Erica Slaughter's handler in that series. And this kind of focuses on him and his story, but like Erica's still involved and things like that. This also has this is James Tynion and Tate Brumball and Chris Sheehan and Miguel Murtaugh. So
Okay, that
yeah,
changes my perception of this a great deal.
Well, so I was interested because like I've been following Something Killing the Children since the beginning. So launching into this, like I have all the background, right? And I can't remember. I know you read some of Something's Killing the Children.
No, I didn't. I never
didn't?
did. So
Okay.
I had no idea what was going on in this, and I was like, "What kind of comic is launching like this? Like,
Okay.
why am I reading a comic called House of Slaughter?" And I come away not knowing anything about like what the House of Slaughter actually is and what is going on here.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was like,
Janelle,
what is
had you
going-
read
like,
any of the Something is Killing the Children either?
No,
Okay,
but
so-
yeah, I did not know. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so no, but that's perfect actually, because like, so for me, this book really worked, but it worked for me because I had all that knowledge and I know exactly who he is and where we're launching. I know what the Order of St. George is, the little animal he's carrying, the little plush animal. There's a children killing monster in that thing that is like, so there's a lot of like lore stuff that is they don't really explain here. So I was curious what you guys thought because you guys are coming in new.
Yeah, no, I had no idea what was going on, and I was like, I don't like this book, and I was amazed that Tinian wrote 2 books of horror-themed books, one that I loved, one that I didn't love, and I was like, okay, I guess that's just the week.
I wasn't mad at it. Like I again was like a little confused, and I'm like, but this is probably just me because I obviously don't have as much background on all of everything. So I was like, well, maybe like they're really familiar with these characters, and by the end, I was very intrigued. I wanted to know what the heck was going to happen, and I was very interested in this entire world, like of these people training to be, I guess, like vampires with teeth and stuff. Like, I was intrigued, and like it felt very like Hunger Games or something with them like battling the 2 houses, and then like it was like Harry Potter, but like really scary.
Okay, well, so here's the thing. That is what I was curious about. That at least it hooked you by the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was not new reader friendly as far as like never having introduced the series. Like,
but it also wasn't like super wordy and like over the top, explaining things. So I was just kind of like, okay, I'll roll with it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was like, I was rolling with it. It was cool.
Positive. Last book of the week, we are moving to Batman: The Long Halloween Special #1, a kind of side story pseudo sequel to the original Batman: The Long Halloween.
Yeah.
This is of course Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, Brendan Wagner, and I'm very curious because I thought it was good. I don't know if I didn't love it. I think I came away kind of like, I love Tim Sale art, so like anytime I can see the Batman, there's some Batman shots in here, they're just beautiful. So like that I really liked, and I love being in this universe. I love some of the Harvey Dent stuff that's in here. The relationship between him and Bruce. There's a great scene. There's some great stuff between Commissioner Gordon and Bruce. Like there's a Halloween scene that is wonderful. I got a kick out of that. So like some of those really trademark Jeff Loeb things in his dialogue. But like overall, if I just look back at the whole story, like I wouldn't say I was like, yeah, that was great. It was good. I enjoyed it. I don't know. What did you think, Janelle?
I appreciate it for what it is. It was a long, spooky book. It's perfect for this time of year, and it not like a must read, but obviously like something cool to get you vibing with this time of year, and I actually really liked it. Like, and the
Good.
Harvey Dent stuff was just awesome.
Right. I feel like that was the star. Like that
Yeah.
anytime Dent was in a scene with anybody, I
Oh
thought,
yeah.
yeah, that's just the stuff he and the ending kind of leaves just a little opening for more. So
Right.
I don't know. Maybe we'll see more from this. I'm bummed that Kofi didn't get to read it. I'm so sorry. I swore I sent you the code. But we will have Kofi read it by next time, and then he will tell us what he thinks. But that's comics.
All right. Thank you, guys. We want to thank you guys for tuning in to Comic Book Nation. This is the official podcast of Comicbook.com, where we talk all things geeky, and you can find us every week, Fridays at noon, live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. You can also get audio of the podcast and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or tell any smart home device to play Comic Book Nation podcast. If you like the show, follow us at Comic Book Nation. If you want to just chat with us individually on social media, you can find me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
And you can find me at Janelle Wheeler.
Thank you guys, as always. If you like the show, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That always helps. Or be back next week here, same time, same Twitch channel, where we will be talking Marvel's Eternals and full spoilers, plus all the great geeky stuff that happened during the week. This is Comic Book Nation. We hope to see you guys again. Peace.
Bye, guys.